of you that have requested me show you how I do the split screen or the side-by-side of me either talking to myself or just the other one of me coming in. So I'm going to do that today. What we're going to take a look at is how to do an easy version of this, and later on I'll do one that makes it a little bit more complicated, like the one I did with the meeting of the minds where we had 4 of us in here. Today we're only going to focus on 2 of us. So a couple things I want you to notice. Look at where I'm standing in relation to the room. What I did is I picked an area that I could easily kind of split down the middle. So the back of our couch works very well here. I get a good sense of where I'm standing. Key things that you do have to be aware of when you're using your hand, because if I go too far with my hand and I do the split screen, my arm will cut off. So I want to be really careful about this. The second thing is watch the lighting that you have in the room, because right now I'm shooting fairly early morning. It's an even light. It is a bright sunny day outside, but the light isn't going to start to pass over. There's not a lot of clouds in the sky. It's a bright blue sky day, so I don't have to worry about shadows or anything. But you do want to be very careful with that. Now, the second part of this is making sure that when you bring the other person in, that you know how they're going to stand and where they're going to stand. So when I go to talk to myself, I know, because I'm 6'2", and I'm going to be talking to myself who's also 6'2", that I should be able to turn to this person and say, "Hey Dave, how's it going?" What I want to do is I want to pause and read through the words in my head of what I expect that person to say back to me. All right? I'll give you an example. What are you doing here? I want to tell them the stuff that I wanted to tell them. Well, I'm shooting a video. All right? No, you can't help me with this video. So it's important that you remember that you were using the ottoman in this case as your split place. And remember, I'm watching where my hands are, so I'm not using a lot of wild gestures because I don't want to go too nuts. So right now, Dave is letting me talk to the camera. If I want to talk back to him, again, as I said before, I know I'm going to be at the same height. If I was sitting down, I'd want to look up, and the other person would look down. So just making sure that you're mimicking what you are going to be seeing is what's going to work best. All right, Dave, I'll give it back to you. Once I've stopped here, pause. Now what I can do is leave the camera recording and go over to the other side and walk in. All right, in post, I'll show you how to cut this out. So we'll pause here. I'm going to walk by the camera. And when I walk on, I'm going to be standing next to myself. Appreciate it. So as you can see, now I've had this well-defined area. Now I know what I need to do in post. And what I'm going to show you next is how to do an easy split screen so that you can have fun with yourself as well. I'll do more tutorials to show you some of the ways that I did some of the other videos that I did going forward. But this one is going to be a great one for you to all start with. All right? And with that, I'm back here at my computer. So what I just did there is called a jump cut. And I'm going to show you today how to do that one as well as kind of a little bonus, but I'll show you that at the end. So now what I'm going to do is take you through the editing process and show you how I do my edits for this specific video. We're back. We are now looking at my computer screen, and I am in Final Cut Pro 10. This is a good time for me to talk a little bit about what you need for video editing software. Yes, I'm using Final Cut Pro 10. I also use Adobe Premiere Pro, both of which I use quite a bit, both for my freelance work and my professional work. However, you do not need this. iMovie, if you have a Mac, will work just as well, and the things that I'm going to teach you will work not only in iMovie and Final Cut Pro, but also in Premiere Pro or even Premiere Elements. So whatever you have available to you for video editing software, go ahead and use. it's not really going to matter. I try to keep this one as simple as possible. There's some reasons why I use this. When I shoot on my big camera, I use a flat profile. And when I shoot in flat profile, that means that I do have to do some color grading as well as add some contrast in. If you watch a lot of those quick fun videos that I did, I shot them on the big camera, but I didn't do a lot of editing afterwards. I just wanted to do them to have fun. All right, so now that we know the software isn't that important, let's take a look at what we've got here. I've imported my clips over here on the left-hand side. They're probably going to be in a little bit different spot depending on what you're using. And I'm looking at my software of where I begin. So I know roughly I started talking right about here. All right, so we can see me moving in, and that's probably a good spot. So I'll hit a letter I. When I hit the letter I, that marks the in point or the start point of the clip that I want. Now all I have to do is come down to roughly where the end of it is. There's me talking to myself. Now there's nothing, and I just want to go until I can find the end of my clip. All right, here's the end, and I'm going to drag that whole thing down. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, Dave, why did you drag all that down? Well, we're going to use this as our base, and we're going to bring down the next clip and lay it over the top. So now what I need to do is I need to go find my second clip where I walked into the screen. So this is all one long video clip. What I did is I recorded the first part, then went around to the other side and recorded the second part without stopping to edit. Because I knew I could simply come back into here on my software, find the spot that I wanted. Okay, so there, right before I show up, I'm going to hit the letter I, and then I can simply drag this out and down to where I walk off the screen. Okay, good. So bottom clip here that you see that's already in the project timeline, that is my starting point. Now what I want to do is I want to take my scrubber or my playhead, which is this right here, and I'm going to drag it along until I see myself start to talk to myself. So right about here, looks like I turn to talk to myself, I'll stop. Now I will go up here, grab that clip that I had selected, and I will drag it down to roughly the beginning of the playhead. When I go back over this, you're going to notice something. So I turn to talk to myself and, oh, I disappeared. Where the heck did I go? This isn't going to work. Okay, so here's what's happened. The clip that's on the top is now the clip that I get to see. So anytime you have a video clip that you lay on top of another video clip, the bottom clip disappears and you can only see the top clip. Okay, Dave, so how is this going to give me the side-by-side that I'm looking for? All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over here to this tool at the bottom of our preview screen, and that's the crop logo. So I'm going to click on crop, and it now gives me three choices: trim, crop, and Ken Burns. So what I want to do, I know that the bottom clip has me on the right hand of the screen, so I'm going to come over here and grab the handle of the trim tool on the right hand side, and I'm simply going to click, hold, and drag until I can see both of me. Perfect. There I am. And then I'll hit done. So now when I drag across, I can see the other person walk in. Perfect. There I am. And then I can drag along. I can see the conversation that's happening all the way along. Good. And that's it. Now, we see these two guys walk away, and that's not really the end. What we do want to see is, if I drag this out a little bit, I'll grab that bottom one. You can see me walk away. All right. I don't want that. There's another part to this clip where you see me come back in, and I snap my fingers, and go away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this spot where I come walking back in, and I'll start that as my start point. Again, the letter I for in, and I will come down. You know what? I'm just going to grab this whole thing. We're not even going to worry about the out, and I'll drag that down to next to the bottom one. All right, so now what we see is this, I walk off, and I walk back in. Okay? Good. So let's come back over here, and I promised you guys that I would show you the jump cut. The jump cut is when you snap your fingers or jump up and down. If you've watched any of the TikTok videos, you see people changing all the time. This is how they do it. You're just matching the motion from one video clip to the next. So in here, I'll come along with my playhead until I see myself snap my fingers. Okay, so here I snap my fingers. What I want to do is I want to match the motion from this to the next clip. So I'll come along and boom, I snap my fingers. Well, what I want to do is bring that back right about there. And I will trim up the end of this video to that point. All right. Then I'll come down to my other clip. And this was actually a second recording that I did. I came over, I sat down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look here by dragging my playhead. Where's the beginning of that snap? Boom. And I want to match that motion. So there's my end point. Mark it with the letter I. And then in the end, I can see myself starting to talk. Now, what I want to do is before I stand up, I want to end that clip. I can now take this and drag it down to the end next to the bottom clip where the snap was. And if I play my playhead across as my hand, well, okay, so I'm off there. See, I come across in full snap, and then we see the other one. Well, that's not going to work. So I'll grab the left-hand clip, and as I drag it across, what you'll notice is I can now see a side-by-side of the two separate clips. So I'm going to try to match probably about there, and then I will grab this other clip, and I will grab the front of it, see where my marker is, and I will drag that along, and that's probably about right. So now, when I play this back, what you should see is the actual jump cut. There, see how that works? And that's called a jump cut. So I'm matching my fingers, my snap, to the different clips. So when I snap my fingers in the first video, I have to remember to snap the same way in the second video. And that will give me what I'm looking for in my jump cut. So if you jump straight up and down, you need to do the same thing in your other video. And then you match those two videos side by side to where you want that cut to be. So in other words, if I jump up, what I want to do is just as I start to come back down in the second clip, that's the point that I'll match. So there you've learned two quick tricks that I've done in my videos. You have a basic split screen and you have a basic jump cut. All right, guys, I hope this helped you. I hope you learned some new tricks. I will be doing additional video tutorials to show you how to do some of the more advanced things. Eventually, I will show you how to do the meeting of the minds, where there were 4 of me in a room. I want to teach you some of the other tricks first because that one involves a little bit more advanced masking. But I will show you some of the ways that I'm doing this, and I think next time what I'll do is I will show you my camera rig and how I've got things set up to work for me, and hopefully that'll give you some inspiration and some ideas. I hope today helped. If it did, please feel free to like and subscribe for more. Thank you very much.